Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Business Helps Stop Violence Against Women webinar. My name is Andrea Groenendijk-de Vaux, and I am the founder and CEO of Renard Group, a UK-based tech for good company active in the philanthropy sector. I am also an ambassador for the Romanian Diversity Chamber of Commerce, the reason we are all here today, and of course, a keen supporter of equality, diversity, and inclusion in business and otherwise. This webinar is organized by the Romanian Diversity Chamber of Commerce and proudly sponsored by Google Romania, Orange Romania, Fokker Engineering, Sanofi, and World Class. And we have a wealth of incredible supporters. Please have a look at this at the slide next to me for their names. We've seen an incredible amount of interest in this event. Thank you, everyone. We are especially supported by the embassies and ambassadors of Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, UK, Norway, the Netherlands, and Sweden in Romania. The purpose of this webinar is to kickstart a conversation on this very important topic, provide good practices, and in the long term, we hope to drive change. We know we have a long road ahead of us, but we want to start today on the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. So here are some statistics. 1 in 3 women is physically abused worldwide. 77% of women in Romania believe that violence against women is common and very common. 30% of women say they have been affected by physical or sexual violence at some point in their lives after the age of 15, and 74% of women in Romania don't know about the existence of any specialized support service from the public administration or from NGOs. We have with us today a wealth of great speakers. Let me introduce you to them. We have Catalina Olteanu, board member of the National Council for Combating Discrimination, Elisabeta Moraru, country manager, Google Romania, Roxana Câlțea, HR head, Sanofi Romania and Moldova, Anca Mitu, general director and partner at Privilege Catering, Leonard Rizoiu, managing partner at Leo HR, and I think we're still waiting for Luminița Popescu, state secretary for the National Agency for Gender Equality. We, of course, have with us Lestat Monroe of the Romanian Diversity Chamber of Commerce, and I would actually like to kick off the conversation with him. Lestat, we have been working on this event for about 6 months or so. It is such a controversial topic, isn't it? People suggested repeatedly that we would be better off speaking about gender equality instead of violence against women, which is a slightly different topic, but seen as a less heated one, perhaps because it has been in the public space for a while. Can you tell me, does violence against women relate to gender equality and how?
And my point of view is that yes, definitely violence against women does relate to gender equality. We have to ask ourselves that questions. If a man today accepts to put his hand on a woman, why? It's because he doesn't consider her as an equal in society. So once we will change that way of thinking by promoting, by bringing more awareness to gender equality, perhaps we'll start to solve some issues. But to our audience, which is most likely from HR department and from entrepreneurs, small, medium-sized, or large corporates, directors. I want, if you're not convinced yet, I want to, have those few words. I was speaking earlier to another ambassador of ours, Alina Roșca, that wrote a really nice piece that we will publish on our blog about risk management, to not consider violence against women, domestic violence, as a priority to deal with at the HR level. It's a bit like not assessing correctly a risk management in your company. Will you not assess risk management to in your companies? That will be totally crazy. That will have an impact on the growth of the company. So the same thing with your workforce. If a woman is victim of violence, if anyone is victim of violence, that is an unhappy employee. That's an employee that can make mistakes. That's an employee that is not going to be productive. This is also not assessing risk management correctly. So I think that somehow that we do have a lot of things still to progress on, especially in Romania. But let's give the let's start the speech with the conversation, sorry, with our speakers.
Thank you so much for that, Lestat. It kind of sets the tone for our conversation today. I received some exclusive numbers from Asociatia Telefonul Copilului because they operate a line, a free line, and among other things, they receive a lot of calls about domestic abuse. And in 2021, in the first months, of all the calls they received, 52%, more than 52%, have to deal with domestic violence. It's, of course, due to the pandemic, they've seen a massive surge in these situations. We all know that a lot of people have been stuck inside so many times with their abusers. So this year and last year have been particularly bad for violence against women. But violence against women is not just physical. There are different types of abuse. And I'd like to go to Anca Mitu, who runs a catering business and has seen some truly sad stories within her business and perhaps beyond that. Anca, you have been in the middle of some pretty unacceptable and shocking situations. You have helped your colleagues and your employees through some difficult times. And I think a lot of businesses can learn from your empathy and your experience in the field. Could you kindly tell us a little bit about some of the things you've seen, how you've handled it, and how you think businesses could perhaps learn from the things you've had to deal with?
Hello to all. I am glad to be here. It's a pleasure to be with you. And thank you for inviting me. You said I helped a lot of women. It's a metaphor because empathy cannot help people. You can just feel, you can make them feel they are not alone. I have started my business 25 years ago. I've met and I have offered a job to lots of people coming from very different socio-economic backgrounds. Over the years, there were members of my company's staff that came from very poor. This is a very important problem and big issue, very poor and low educated community. I met women that were brutally abused by their husbands or by their life partners. Their reality is a very harsh one. They face daily physical, moral, and sexual abuse and violence. Their husbands are most of the time under the influence of alcohol, which is, of course, doesn't excuse their shameful behavior, but explains the fact that they are uncontrollable and insensible in those and that moments. Words are useless. They not only beat their wives, but they also abuse them sexually. What can victims and my colleagues and all the abused women do? These women have the option to go back to their parents' home, usually in the rural areas. Their parents refuse to house them because they are afraid of being ashamed by their neighbors. They fear that their daughters will be labeled as having failed in their marriages. In the rural communities, people blame divorced couples. They actually blame victims instead of perpetrators. In other words, you better die beaten by your husband than to admit you are a victim of domestic abuse. So parents are not an option. Is police an option? No, because usually and most of the time, policemen have no empathy. On the contrary, they find the same, women find the same machos that will mock them saying, you asked for it. Is justice an option? No. I met a lady, I know her for 19 years. She was abused on the long term by her husband, even when she was pregnant. She was brave, and after many years of humiliation, she decided to go to court. 10 years after she decided to divorce, she is still trying to sharing the little possessions she and her husband have. In this case, it's a very modest one-bedroom apartment. So far in 10 years, she hasn't seen a penny. What did she obtain? Nothing. She struggled paying a rent for a small derelict housing. Meanwhile, her ex-husband continued living carefree in their apartment. If these women cannot find support in their own families, nor in police, nor in front of the judge, then I think the situation is at dead end. The one and only thing that could make a change is education. Only education could stem the scourge, flagell, no?
Yeah, yeah.
Education for men and boys, especially in order to eradicate gender stereotypes. Education in order to elevate people from poverty, alcoholism, and violent behaviors. I met more than 40 women with very, very, very grave abuse. I don't know what to make to help them, but probably with some help from the government, the politics, the organizațiile non-guvernamentale, maybe it's possible to make something to help them.
So what are the main stakeholders, if we're going to list them, in terms of parts of society that need to be involved? You mentioned the police, right? That's
yes.
one of them. The legislative.
I have mentioned justice.
Yeah, the legislative. Yes. What about we're talking about NGOs. However, it's such a fragmented space, isn't it? There are so many NGOs, but there's no real, for me anyway, from all the research I've done, it's really hard to say, okay, if this happens, you do that, right? There's no real steps that women can be informed about in terms of what they should do if something were to happen to them. So we have the NGOs, we have the police, we have the legislative, we have the government in itself with some of its organizations, and then of course we have business, which is what we're trying to debate today. However, how do we bring all these stakeholders together to create a plan for women that need support?
Andrea, I think for big results, for important results, for a problem, generally speaking, you need magnitude. You need amplitude. We have, you mentioned, we have a lot of small NGO, but they are small. They have not enough power to make something or to organize an important thing, measure for these women. We need a powerful organization or force, political or not, for a long-term solution.
Do you feel that the legislation we have in place and the support that's out there, if there is any, is fit for purpose?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know if we have serious legislation, but as I have seen, they cannot or they do not want to make anything.
So it's a matter of legislation, but it's also a matter of enforcing that legislation.
Yes.
you said the police doesn't have empathy, the justice system doesn't have empathy. Actually, I guess the conclusion is that there's still a massive amount of stigma associated with violence against women. Therefore, wherever you turn, you're likely to be told, well, it was your fault, you were looking for it.
Yes, or they just ignore the victim.
Okay, thank you for that, Anka.
Thank you.
So I'm going to go to our representative from the council, National Council for Combating Discrimination, and ask, how does discrimination tie in with violence against women, Catalina?
What I would like to add, what Anka said already, is that violence against women means also lack of equal payments, means also microaggression. Being a Roma woman, all the entire time that I'm also here at CNCD and also at my workplace, someone in my entire life told me that, oh, you are not married. What about this? Because being a Roma woman, it means that at your 30, you're supposed to be married and have already 5 kids. So I'm not married and I don't have kids yet. So this is kind of microaggression that as a Roma woman, I faced during at my workplace, and also not because I'm just a Roma woman, but I am also a woman too. Violence against women means also moral harassment, emotional abuse, revenge porn, humiliation, the normalization of the violence, and also reproducing stereotypes and prejudice against against women. And I mean here that already in our Romanian society, we know the proverb that unbeaten wife is. So this kind of stereotypes, reproducing this kind of stereotypes, prejudice against women can be considered as a violence against them. So at CNCD, National Council for Combating Discrimination, we have a lot of cases that we have to talk about the lack of equal payments and the moral harassment at the workplace that we have already in our law, put it as an article. So and also here I would like to add the main role, the importance role of the education in combating stereotypes and prejudice against women. Because if we don't learn at school that violence against girls and women means that, we don't know where. These days, I'm conducting a training with teachers from all over Romania. So, and we talk about violence, and we talk about stereotypes and prejudice, and we talk also about how the women can be representative in the sector. We talk about political involvement, we talk about business involvement, and again we talk about how education, how the formal education in Romania, how the system of education in Romania can deal with this. And it's very, I don't know, it's very encouraged for me to see that the teachers are open to talk about violence against girls and women at school. So maybe the change will come for the next period, and I'm very glad to see them and also to work with the schools regarding this kind of stereotypes and prejudice and also discrimination.
Well, this is a very important point, because my next question was, going back to sort of the basics. Where is Romania right now? Have we made positive steps in the right direction? And what are the main challenges we still have to overcome before we go to the business side of things and see what businesses can do? Because I'd like to have a baseline and understand where we stand before we talk about what we can do in the future. So you're saying, Catalina, that we are seeing different entities and different stakeholders, as I've been calling them, starting a conversation. You're saying that it's happening in schools. How can we bring that conversation to what Anka was saying, the police force, the legislative, to law and order, basically? How can we bring that conversation? How can we bring a level of empathy to those who actually have to deal with it? Because it's great that schools are talking about it, but however, they're not really at the forefront, are they? They don't have to manage the victims the way police officers do, the way the courts have to deal with them. So how do we bring that conversation into different fields, and then how do we ultimately bring it into the business sector?
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge to go with this discussion in the justice system. To talk with the judge and with the others, we can do what they can do regarding the violence against women. I was reading these days about what is happening now in our society with some cases, violence cases against women, and we saw not only about discussion about the violence against women, but the justice system needs to understand that it's important to talk and to give the best solutions and resolutions for their cases. Also, when the violence has no ethnicity and no color and no statue. So when I would like also to bring to our discussion about the Roma women in Romania, because most of them, as I said, the violence doesn't have ethnicity, but this violence has a face of ethnicity when you go to the police, when you face and you have to complain to the police against violence as a Roma woman. So there you have to face also the violence that you were faced at home, but also the institutional racism that is in our institution, unfortunately. So we need to go with this at the justice level, conducted trainings. At CNCD, my colleagues during the times, they conduct a lot of trainings with this judge and police workers. And I think these kind of trainings will have the impact at the end. I think it's not enough only to talk and to discuss during the meetings and conferences as this kind of bilateral meetings or whatever. I think it's important to work with them and to show them that it's in their work also they need empathy and they need to understand this kind of also the institutional racism that is in our country, not only in our country.
Well,
being honest.
It is a massive problem, and I applaud what you're doing, Catalina, and I applaud the RDCC because I know there's a lot of initiatives that we're working with you on for racism, which is a massive problem in Romania and not only, and it adds an extra layer of pain to what women are going through. I'm going to ask Leo now because Catalina was saying, we have to go in there and teach people and help them be more empathetic or teach them how to be more empathetic. How does one do that, Leo? How do you go into an institution and teach them about this very painful topic?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to this event. I'm really positive about everything what is happening lately in Romania about diversity, about women, about gender equality. And Anca presented a very real photo of the situation. Also, Catalina spoke about the education system and violence in school. Imagine that all these are happening, the violence between the parents are happening with the kids. The kids, when they grow up, they will copy the same behavior. So that's why the victim becomes the other one. So it's very important to see education schools right now, to enter in the schools, in the high schools, to speak about this very loud, and to have access to all directors of schools and tell them about the importance of bullying. Imagine what is happening right now in the school, and imagine if that at that level it's hate. Imagine when they grow up and what is happening after when they have real power. So yes, it's a very sensitive topic, this one, and I really want to congratulate all the people involved here, and Lestat, Andrea, great job. Um, I think we all, like civil, like people, we should go to institution with projects, um, with ideas in order to change mindset, to go to school, to speak in public, to write articles, to be present, to make all this advocacy in order to to raise the awareness of what is really happening. The numbers are shocked. What you said, Andrea, at the beginning, it's amazing, it's shocking. I didn't know about all this, even if I searched some information for today, but I didn't really know what is the reality. And Anka raised a very good point. In case of something, you are on your own, you don't have any kind of ally in this story. So this is the reality, this is what's happening right now. I think we should do some projects and to present to the institution in order to present in terms of what is happening, behavior, action plans. Like we do in business, we should do also on this civic problem.
So how do you create that system now, taking it to the business side,
Mhm.
Leo? Because you have a list of things that big businesses can do, and a lot of those things. I had a sneak peek at your list, and a lot of those things have to do with empathy, right? You have to help victims of violence, but you also need to understand them and support them, right? So why don't you talk me through your to-do list for businesses, and then I will go to our speakers from companies for them to tell us some of the things they've been doing and some of the things they think can be implemented in Romania. So Leo, over to you.
Well, lots of big companies, they have already in internal regulation specified articles or chapters about violence. So most commonly used practice that HR departments employ to support employees who are victims of domestic violence can be having a domestic violence policy in place as part of the internal regulation and publishes its services, meaning that should be there, should be written there, and should be very presented to the people. Then the company should have a flexible working arrangements. Why? Because it's very important when you are passing through this kind of period to have the possibility to have a flexible working schedule in order to set your problem. After that, access to unpaid leave. Lots of companies, if we are talking, for example, about production companies and not in Bucharest, where are the industrial cities, they have attendance bonus, bonus de presenza. So if you have a problem, even a medical one, if you are taking a day off, you don't get the whole month presence bonus. So this one, it's one of the major desires of the people if they have a child who is sick or if they have a problem like we are discussing today, to have the access to unpaid leave. Another one is a culture of trust and respect, so that the employees feel that their disclosure will be treated confidentially. Confidentially, it's a very sensitive subject in Romania. Bârfa, cheating, it's very present, even in organization. We are saying that it's informal communication, but it's for sure other thing. And as Anka said, you cannot go uh, in smaller villages or in rural area because everybody is speaking about your problem. After that, protection from adverse action or discrimination based on the disclosure of domestic violence. Again, very important also this kind of protection. Also providing training to supervisors so that they recognize and respond to sign of domestic violence. Here, with training or workshops in organization, I can tell you there are a lot of companies who are doing different kind of gender equality. They are doing generations because in the same team, having a 19-year boy and a 49-year lady, it's very difficult to have the common and the same objective. So they don't speak the same language. One is on WhatsApp, and the other one wants to work harder and harder to get more money. So they have a lot of workshops. Also, about this should be very present, and I know for sure the headquarters of the companies that are present in Romania, they have specific strategies on this. HR also should not go it alone, but build contacts and relationship with outside organizations who have expertise in dealing with domestic violence and who they can refer an employee for assistance. Well, indeed, HR should have some allies, should have some partners, NGOs or different. I know the big private clinics in Romania. They can offer some psychological support, but also some NGOs that can and have the expertise and can deal with this kind of situation. Offer a change of office location because if this happened with a certain reason, flexibility, also location can be very important in those moments, and of course provide financial support. As Anka said, with her friend that she knows it from 19 years, she went to the court, she didn't get anything. So one of the reasons the woman quit to receive justice, it's because of this. It's the financial support. So companies can have this, can back up this.
No, sorry to interrupt, but it's about the big companies, the companies who have real powerful financial background. Because otherwise, in my case, for example, it's not normal to speak about me. It's not, I am just a small entity. But we had 2 very, very, very hard years. We just survived. So it's very hard. I wish to have some money just for help this case, but it's not possible now. It's
Right
a
now,
Romanian small company. We are 58 people now. We were 77, I think. But now we have to pay the salaries from the Slanina, ca să zic așa, from the money we have saved.
Yes, yes, indeed. Right now, the pandemic context is very difficult for all of us. You are a medium company, 58, it's very, very good. They are smaller companies, but even so, indeed, we are facing very difficult times in terms of financials and in terms of forecasting, planning, and everything what is happening. In the companies that are not in Horeca like you are, and they have a certain stability, they have a certain fund for urgencies. or for things like that. We had it all before. Right now, it's not the time to have it because we are struggling. We all are struggling. We are all in the same boat because the context is for all. But in future, we can have this amount. Or if the company doesn't have it, to allow it to employees to gather a certain amount of money in order to help that person who has very difficult times. People are very, and they are empathy in this kind of cases. So, just a sec. And if someone wants to help, the company can offer them this kind of possibility.
Anka seems unconvinced.
No, I'm not convinced.
Tell us,
People
Anka.
are empathy, not in the very poor communities. Catalina can understand. There is no empathy here. People do not want to help another person or anybody.
I think
And what you said, just said, Leo, is like ceare. Sau cum se spunea, când some economies, but they prefer to when is the turn of some of them, they prefer to buy some gold, some chain or something, or earrings or something. You see, not to help. You cannot even think they will take their money and help with that money. It's just impossible.
I think leadership and organizational culture here is very, very important, because if the culture of the small company, 10, 15, 20, we are smaller than you. And when we had a colleague who moved from Craiova to Bucharest, everybody put some money to buy a microwave. And we are 11 people. So people are indeed, it's another environment, but what can I tell you is that if the culture of the company, if the leadership of the company encourage this support, maybe people become more aware that this problem can happen to any one of us, not just to her or just to X. So maybe in this case, with good culture and good leadership, can sensitive this kind of people. Maybe there are all kind of people, and we know here in this region we are not the most empathic people and supportive people, but in times and with the new wave of millennials who are now in charging in businesses, I think things will be better in the future.
Well, I'll come back to that because I want to discuss. Small and medium companies, because it is a slightly different environment, especially outside of Bucharest. I think we're quite privileged in Bucharest and in big cities. It's a different approach to life. I think there's a lot of companies out there who have production in villages and in places that are lacking in education, and I think it's a completely different approach. But I want to go to Roxana from Sanofi, and actually we now have a representative from ANES, Diana Elena Naga. Welcome. I'll come straight to you after this. It's great to have you, Roxana. You are in the leadership of a pretty big company in Romania. Talk us through your experience with violence against women and what your company has in place to deal with situations like this, either in Romania or internationally. I'd like to hear some best practices, and I'd like to hear some of the challenges you've dealt with in your organization.
Thank you very much, Andrea, and thank you for having me invited here. It's a honor and a joy to be here to share and to discuss, and maybe to support and bring something, yeah, for such a really terrible topic, not very often brought at the table. Indeed, I have the privilege, yeah, to be part of the leadership of a really great company. What can we do? What can businesses do? A lot. First, I would like maybe to start by saying that fighting the root cause, of violence against women, and in fact against all kinds of violence, physical or emotional abuse, it's a shared responsibility. It's a common responsibility of both individuals, companies, employers, and society. And we all can and should fight on all levels, first by not remaining indifferent and trying to support through all the means we have in control. As a companies, we have the duty to create a safe and inclusive workplace with strong commitment to gender equality and diversity, because yes, I am very much agreeing with Lesta, it's very much linked to it. We should be, as a company, as a team, a role model to the external environment, sharing the good practices and contributing like today, for example, to public debates that address such a topic. And we should be all part of the solution. We should take steps to prevent violence, to protect individuals, to develop internal policies that support our people and our ladies today now having this topic, to bring their best self, to be confident and to open and to be courageous to report any type of violence. And we also should strive to develop and to promote educational means to openly address the topic into the civil society in this regard. Coming closer now to Sanofi and to what are we doing, and I am saying we because I really don't believe at all that such a topic like diversity, inclusion, gender equality, gender balance, whatever, this is not a topic of HR. Not at all. This is a topic of each and everybody, leader, manager, individual, employee itself, definitely. And I'm striving to convince this and to promote this and to not be seen as an HR topic, not at all. And this is deeply recognized into Sanofi, diversity and inclusion with a lot of perspectives and aspects. It's really and genuinely a top priority of the company since ever, but our days may be more than ever. What are we trying to do? We are trying and we are committed to empower the woman, to increase the confidence in their own strengths, to become fully independent. We support and encourage them to develop a sustainable career path while reaching their potential to the maximum. We have a lot of various programs dedicated to our women colleagues, mentoring programs, career development programs, flexible work schedule, very trendy nowadays, and I'm not referring to it in this actual less fortunate pandemic context. We have had it in place well before. Yeah, we have had well before 2 days working from home. We have had this flexible time schedule, allowing people, and not only women, of course, to start the working day very early in the morning or later in the morning. Yeah, very early, it's absolutely no burden. Later, 10:30, so that they are able to cope with their personal challenges at home, maybe to go and to lead the children at school early in the morning or kindergarten, or maybe to be able to leave earlier in the afternoon to pay a visit to their parents and to make some shopping and things like that. Building representative leadership, having women part of our leadership team, it's one of the very strong commitment of the company. At global level, we have a very clear KPI, and we are aiming not later, but by 2025, to have at least 50 women in Sanofi senior leaders executive and at least 40 in the executive position. And also we strive to be externally recognized at the top 10 employer for different strands of diversity. While speaking closer to us in Romania, without a false modesty, I think that we are doing pretty well. We have already 55% ladies, generally speaking, in our organization, and above 60% female people managers. But we are not, I'll say, sleeping on it. We are continue to strive because we consider that we need to focus more and more in depth on ensuring full equity and in meeting all potential individual needs, depending on the career stage, but also depending on the personal life stage. And ensuring the mix of diversity, exactly what Leo was speaking about, yeah, focusing on age diversity and bringing the different generation together, it's also extremely important for us. What have you done? It's really difficult for me to stick to the time, but I will give only a few examples. Yeah, like exactly in line with, again, what Leo was saying, we have in place a so-called Support You program, which includes specialized psychological support services for each of our employees and their close family members, available 24 out of 24, 7 days a week, with the aim of managing everyday challenges more effectively and help the employees to put personal, mental health and well-being as a top priority. Yeah. Educational program. We have what we call Challenge Your Bias program, which is a program available to each employee. We have started and deployed top-down, helping each of us to become aware of any prejudice we may have and to fight against it. And this was extremely surprising for all of us, I have to say, because of the start of the program, you say, oh my God, really, I don't have any bias. Really, I'm so open and inclusive, and okay, let's see what's about. And then going through the quizzes and exercises, we discovered that it may be not exactly the case.
Roxana, you also had a video that you wanted to show about your CSR program. If you're done with your answer, shall we show that?
Please, sure.
Lestat, if you could kindly help us with that.
I'm working on it. Yeah.
Well, technology has been our friend during the pandemic, but not always, right? We had a little tech issue at the beginning of the webinar, but if it doesn't get if something doesn't get the heart pumping, it feels like we haven't been. Thank you for that. You said some very interesting things about educating people in the workplace. I'm going to go to Elisabetta Moraru. Ella, we're talking about education. You're at the top of one of the biggest companies in the world, the Romanian branch of Google. Incredible brand. That should give you the gravitas to really have a platform to talk to your employees and educate people. How do you go about doing that? And while you're at it, please tell me some of the things you have in place, policies or programs at Google. If you've had any challenges, let us learn from your experience. Tell us what you've done and tell us what you have planned for the future.
Yes, thank you so much. First of all, because I've felt a lot of emotions while listening to the previous speakers, I do feel the need to express first the emotions I have right now about this topic. And I would state three, if you allow me. First of all, I feel a lot of humbleness because while I was listening to the previous speakers, I was imagining a young girl, and I would like you to imagine it with me. So, be it Maria, she's 23, she already has a kid, she was beaten last night by her husband, and she needs to go now to work, but she is crushed, she's concerned about her kid, she's worried about what other people are thinking of her, she doesn't know who to turn to, and her heart is broken. I'm humbled by the sufferance of this Maria, which is any of us actually, because all of us have had these moments of heartbroken because of being humbled or humiliated or abused by somebody around us. That's a first feeling. A second one is the sadness of the fact that our discussion here doesn't reach Maria. It's very hard to get to this Maria because I am in a privileged position, and so do many of us. I'm at home. I have the financial means to break the chains if I have to in my personal life. I have a group of support around me. And all in all, I have the education to understand the context around me. And the other feeling is still hope. The hope of the fact that these days I've talked a lot with my daughter, my older kid, she's 13, and she's not broken, not yet. She looks at the history, because that's where the conversation started from, and she was telling me, how could that have been possible? This is not acceptable. We were talking about various people that fought against prejudice, against discrimination, against the fact that women did not have rights. So I still have hope. Now I can go back to the pragmatism of intervention and tell you what I was thinking to share with you today. I cannot change the system. I cannot influence that much what the state is doing or how the legislation looks like. So what can I do? Well, I look at the numbers and I create, together with my colleagues, programs to do something still. Pragmatically, a McKinsey report that was just published about what could happen if we could take the potential of the womenhood in CE by 2030 tells us that in Romania only, if we could improve the women representation, economic representation against daily business as usual today, we could increase the GDP with 8.7%. In money, that would mean 24 billions. It's a huge amount which could be returned back into the system then to really support and really create project that could really help the women. And for that, we could take action in the participation of women in labor force. For that, we could increase the number of paid hours for women and also the sector mix. And I am talking about this because also numbers show that the population of women in Romania is 51-52%. Graduating gender balance is 60% female on university degree, yet only 45% of the labor force are women. So what did we do about this, and what do we want to do? I'm not even touching on the executive level, on how in Romania, in top 100 companies, only 9% are female. So I'm not even touching on that because I would never stop. Because we are also working in tech, and we see how future of work is evolving. We understand that we have to take every step of a female life or anybody's life and try to influence for the better. And for this, in early ages of any kid, I believe it's important to help support literacy and also digital literacy. Only now in this moment, 1 million of jobs in EU are not covered because they are lacking digital skills. And we're supporting programs like îndreptardigital.ro with TechSoup because we want to teach kids from primary school to use digital tools. We also want to help kids understand how to use safely these tools. And this is why we have the Be Internet Awesome program. It's for kids of any gender. And we teach them how to be courageous. We teach them how to be safe. We teach them how to use with kindness and without bullying anybody, not just a female, anybody around them, and many more topics. It's not just about the jobs of the future, it's also about how at the moment of inflection, which is teenagers, most of the girls decide to not follow a STEM career or ITC career because they don't have role models, because they are scared that they might not make it, because they believe they are not fit. For 8 years in a row, we have had this series of Girls in Tech, where last year we asked girls to ask us questions before doing the series. And some of the questions were like, do I have enough IQ to work in IT? My mind stopped for a moment. Even if one girl asks herself if she has enough IQ, we have an issue. Not to mention that there are many who think like this. So not just Girls in Tech. This year we launched Mind the Gap program, which happens as we speak. It's a series of 20 talks. Some of them are coding trainings. Some of them are inspirational. I've also volunteered and I've spoken about the power of having a career against all odds, and used even very personal examples and taking off masks of perfection and talking about how difficult it is to be in this job, but how empowering it is to see more examples like this. And what I hope is that next year we will continue even with more in this respect, and even with some scholarships. We've done that before, but I want to continue. And this is just the part where we start. Then we have these girls who are in university, if they were lucky not to drop out, if they are lucky not to be functional analphabet, if they are lucky not to be already mothers, and like our colleague before said, outcasted by society and even family. And for those, we want to help them be entrepreneurs. We already give them scholarships to learn digital skills, to be ready for the future. I truly believe that poverty is one of the main elements why violence continues. It's poverty of all genders, not just for female. And if we empower these women, and if we give them the economic means, they will uplift their entire family, not to mention that diversity in general uplifts any type of environment where diversity exists. And to finish, because you also asked me about what we are doing internally, I believe we're extremely privileged. We look at day from a hiring, progression, retention, and culture perspective. And on all elements of this, we have programs, we have champions, and support networks that we have around the employee. So unless you really want me to deep dive on specificity of these, I wouldn't stay too much on it, also conscious of time, but also because I really speak from the perspective of a very privileged person. And my concern is that our real audience, Maria, that I've mentioned at the beginning, has no chance to get this. And I would feel a hypocrite to talk about all this benefit while I know it's really a very limited number of people that are eligible to have this, while the big mass around us has suffered tremendously, even more because of the pandemic. So, yes.
Well, I think what you're saying is incredibly powerful and very on point. It's probably next level, isn't it? It's past the immediate aftermath of the violence. How do we move on, or preventing that to begin with through education? It's slightly more sophisticated, isn't it, than some of the basic realities in Romania. But I wholeheartedly agree with you that without education, without financial education, without career development programs, as Roxana was saying, it's a never-ending vicious cycle, isn't it? Of poverty, of lack of education, of never seeing anything beyond the normal, which is violence, abuse, alcoholism, etc. I'm going to go back to the basics a little bit, to Diana from ANES. You started a partnership with IKEA Romania last year, a national campaign to inform on domestic violence and violence against women, and you were promoting a number that people can call to report such acts. I'm very curious how that's working, and that is in a way because I have worked with Telefonul Copilului for 16 years now. They run the unique line where people can report abuse against children. But somehow I think the stigma is slightly different when it comes to violence against women. I applaud your initiative. I think it's fantastic. I'm actually curious how it's going. IKEA, our partners, are at the RDCC too, so we are very keen on their work in the ED&I space. We're very impressed with what they've done. So Diana, how is that going? What kind of results are you seeing, and what kind of challenges are you facing?
Hello, thank you very much for inviting us to this conference, and I would like to say that unfortunately the Miss Luminița Popescu wasn't able to be here with you today due to some unexpected meetings that she have to be at. And I would also like to say that we really appreciate your efforts in involving in this very important fight that we all have to face, namely the fighting violence against women. It's very important for us as a public authority to have your support as a person that are working in the private sector, because as you all said, this is a common effort that we should do for a long time from now on. And I would also like to underline that we are strongly committed to create all the conditions for helping women that are facing this kind of abuses. Regarding your question and the helpline you mentioned, yes, we have a helpline that is addressing the needs of victims of discrimination, domestic violence, but also human trafficking. And we are doing efforts in order to promote this helpline. It's very important that the victims of gender-based violence to know that they can call and they can find support in order to make important decisions for ending the abuses they are suffering. From this perspective, we've done in the last years several partners. We brought together in our initiative to promote this helpline, different partners, public or from the private sector, like you mentioned IKEA, but we also trying to do different partnerships with local authorities. We have important relation with the Bucharest municipality that helped us to promote the helpline in the public transport in Bucharest. We also working keep in touch with the Cluj municipality in order to do the same there, but we also with the public television. We are as you said, and you said from your experience working with in the private sector, and I saw, as I remember, some figures around 70% of the women do not know what kind of social services or help they can get when they are facing domestic violence. This is also an issue that we are preoccupied by, because we saw also that women do not know that they can benefit from different kind of support from the public authorities, but also from support that social services and support that are offered by NGOs, and also in different private companies. And it's very important that you are doing a very great job in this respect. So from this perspective, I would like to make a call to come together and to promote the social services that are available, because as you all know, the Romanian government is committed to the implementation of Istanbul Convention, and the Istanbul Convention is a very important international instrument that we are using in fighting gender-based violence. And in the process of the implementation of Istanbul Convention, we are trying to develop the network of social services that are able to support the victims of this kind of abuses. And in this respect, I would like to say that we are having the first national network, integrated network of shelters dedicated to women victims of domestic violence. We have 42 shelters housing, and also that are supported by complementary services like information vocational conciliation, and so on. It is very important to know that every county of our country has this kind of social services for victims. We also have implemented innovative social service for the victims of sexual aggression at the hospital, one of the big hospitals in Bucharest. And if you are if you get in contact with victims that are victims of sexual abuse, you can direct them to this kind of social services. But also, for the first time in Romania, we are addressing the problem of the abusers, because as we all know, unfortunately, we are living in a society where violence is a very tolerated phenomenon, and where the abusers become abusers due to the fact that they live in this kind of society that tolerates violence. So in this respect, it is very important to offer support also for the abusers, and we are having at ANES the first services for the abusers, 8 centers for concealing the abusers are being made to one of our projects. We should keep up the good work we've done until now. We need your help. It's very important for us to be partners in this in this important process of offering support for the victims. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. It's very interesting to hear about what is in place, and actually I'd like to recap some of that. But going back to my first question about the line that you've launched last year, can you tell us a little bit about how many cases, if you have those figures, those statistics, how many people have called, how many cases have been reported to the relevant authorities? And while we're on it, can you tell us a little bit what your relationship is with the relevant authorities, civil services, social services, the police, etc.?
Okay, yes, as you all know, the pandemic brought us also in the front of the increasing the cases of domestic violence, and this phenomenon was seen also by the calls that were made at the national helpline, that is 0100 500 333, and from my let me see, there were for the year 2020 around 3,700 calls at the helpline, almost double from the number doubled from 2019. So it's very important how we look to the figures. The numbers, we are not scared by the increasing numbers of calls, because from our point of view, there is a signal that the victims are trying to get help and contact us. we don't think that the rising figures are saying that we have a phenomenon that is developing or rising, because as we all know, the violence against women is a hidden way of hidden a phenomenon, but the increasing numbers of calls to the helpline show us to think that the victims are trying to get help, and they think at public authorities as important partners in this process, and also that they that the victims know the number or get this information that is vital for them. So there is we are dealing with an increasing number of calls at the helpline. We are trying to offer all our support and to direct the victims to the social services that they need. We are working together with the police, which is providing us with other kind of figures we need, like the numbers of victims that are women or men, and so on. And we are also having a very strong partnership with the NGOs active in the field that are giving us important feedback about what we are doing good, but also about what we can do better. And we find this very important for us, because there are lots of things that we are trying to do and we are doing, but of course there are many other things that we have to do, and we have to do better.
And your relationship with the other authorities, because we were discussing earlier, and I think you might have missed that part, that there's a significant lack of empathy among law and order. Many women are turned away. Their cases are not brought to trial, are not brought forward. So many times the police officers have an attitude that kind of says, you were looking for it, or, you know, is this really the best thing for you? Do you really want to move forward with this? He's your husband, etc., etc. So what is your relationship with them? And do you have any programs to sort of drive forward the level of empathy that is within that space?
Sorry, I've missed that part of the discussion, but it's a very important one. Yes, we are dealing with a lack of trust of the victims in addressing the public authorities, and especially the police. And this is we can see this from different report research that we are also reading here at ANES. In order to address this issue, we are in several projects that we are developing, or that we ended. We try to have activities that are regarding trainings with different categories of professionals, and here we are talking also about trainings with police officers and people from the that are getting in contact with victims. We are trying also to address this issue by promoting a gender by integrating the gender perspective in education, because this is also very, very important to know from early stage of her life that violence is an abuse, that is not tolerable in any case, and that there are not excuses for for violence, and in this respect we have a strong partnership with the education public authority ministry, and we are trying to implement a gender sensitive approach in education. But as I said, that we have several projects. I don't have I think in Gloria there is a project that is named Gloria, where we've done some trainings with police officers, and also with other kind of other categories of professionals. And it's important. The trust in public authorities is something that we should address, and we should strengthen the trust of victims in public authorities in order to help provide them with real help in front of the abuses that they are facing.
And is that working? Are you seeing traction, Diana?
Sorry, I didn't understand your. Can you repeat, please?
Is this working? Are you seeing results? Are you getting traction? Because we were discussing earlier, and for example, Anka, who's been in business for 25 years and has seen a lot of things, Catalina, who's been at this for a long time. I think, you know, there's a level of pessimism among people who have been dealing with these challenges over and over again, and it's hard to see progress. So do you feel from the inside we're moving fast enough? And if not, what would we need to do to move faster?
Let me say I'm inside I'm inside ANES only for 8 months. But before that, I've been inside of the issue because I have some years of activism in NGOs, and from these perspective, I say that there have been some projects, maybe not that big that we expected and that we want to see, because there is also this cultural side of the story, and but as I can remember from different meetings with police officers, we started from they saying that there is no discrimination, that the violence against women is a private matter. That they choose not to intervene because the husband and wife make up, and this is not the business of the police. And now I think we can see that there is sort of awareness about the fact that domestic violence is a public issue, not a private one. And there are we saw commitment for different representative of of police officers, that they are willing to be our partners in this respect, and they are willing to offer the victims the trust they need. And but we also needed to give them some instruments in order to be able to act in cases of domestic violence. And from this point of view, it's very important that we have the protection order, and also the order that can be implemented by the police officers when they are facing a case of domestic abuse, so that I think this is important in order to strengthen our partnership.
Thank you for that, Diana. I want to go back to Anka because she has to leave soon. Anka, you're truly one of the most interesting people I've spoken to in a long time in terms of having real experience with incredibly painful topics. You and I have had a number of conversations in preparation of this webinar, and at times I felt that you were quite well, lacking in hope. I think that we will see change in the near future. If there's one thing that other business owners can do in the short and medium term, what would your advice be? How do you start that conversation? If we're going to see even a small difference on a small scale in the day-to-day lives of these women, obviously, as so many of the speakers have said, we have to work together. But again, you're in the trenches, you're in the first line, you're actually doing things, and you've seen these women and you've helped them over and over. If there's one piece of advice you would give to another business owner that sees such a problem in their business and wants to address it, what would that piece of advice be?
I think it's a personal problem, because in my case and in all the small companies, Romanian companies cases, it's about the person who is in charge. My advice is to hear, to see, to try to help, to find anything that can improve their at least their mood. Cannot speak about education. As one previous speaker said, in Romania there are more than 55% of Ella said before, more than 55% of functional analphabets. So to improve their knowledges, it's quite difficult, but to improve their mood, their well-being, I think it's possible. I have started to let's say directions. One is every month, 1 week, we invite a nice person to speak with us, to speak about anything. It's not a specific topic, but about anything. And the other is every week we steal 1 hour from our time to relax, to think about us, to be one with to have a time for themselves, because they don't have time to think about them. They are all the time in their lives. They are in aggression. I don't know how to say. They have to work. They have to clean. They have to raise their children. They have to support the harassment and so on. So it's quite difficult for me to give an advice for other managers. It's a problem of I don't know. I don't see how without a powerful organization, without people like Ella or like Roxana who have also empowerment and financial mijloace. I don't know how to advise someone.
Thank you for that, Anka.
Thank you very much for
taking the time to speak to us. I think we're going to be definitely in touch with you because we want to hear more about the things.
Just a second, I want to show you one, Maria.
Please do.
I would like to say something regarding what Anka just said. Yes, sometimes I agree, small company may not have the financial help, neither the knowledge to do things, but there is something that we can all do. is to put yourself available, to put yourself aware, and also to be able to detect in order to help when there is domestic violence, and that everyone can do. To be aware that
I don't know if you can. Sorry, Lestat.
I was saying that I wanted to answer a bit what you were saying earlier. It is difficult for a small company that doesn't have the financial support or doesn't have the knowledge to help the cause. But there is something that we can all do, is to be aware and to try to detect when there is domestic violence among our co-workers, and to put yourself available to those people. Sometimes, you know, the fact that you are here to listen, it's the first help that you can provide. So this is like, again, it goes back to what we were saying. Sometimes we do have a lack of empathy at work, where we don't put ourselves available. We should. And what you're doing, as you know, helping your coworkers to get some time for themselves, at least 1 hour a week. This is, you know, a great initiative. It's a good start.
Yeah, Anka, we can't see your camera anymore. If you wanted to show us something.
Yes, it's a big picture, so it's hard to recognize someone, but I will show you with my.
The camera is off. Your camera is off.
I just a second. I don't know what happened.
Perhaps turn off the camera and turn it again. If not, you might need to disconnect and join again.
It doesn't work. But next time I will show you Maria, Ella.
I see. Well, actually, that was going to be my next question, because we also have a question from our audience. And by the way, those tuning in can ask questions in the Q&A section. Anka, if it's something that you can email to us, I'm happy to show it. But I assume it's an object that you're showing, not a digital photo.
Mm-hmm. It's not a digital photo. It's a printed photo.
Okay, so it's not possible for you to email it to us. Then in that case, why don't we, you and I liaise separately? We would love to do an interview with you for the RDCC website, and maybe we can feature that photo if possible.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Thank you so much for taking part in this webinar. It was great to hear from you. I look forward to meeting you in person in Romania. Next year, we want to do a live event, an in-person event. I think it's so much more powerful. So I look forward to seeing you again this time next year.
Thank you very much. And I hope this meeting will really help at least some women.
Thank you so much, Anka.
Thank you. Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Ella, we were talking about Maria, and actually I want to go back to that because there was a question about reaching that person, Maria, whoever that is. And we were talking about companies that have production in small towns, and you know, they have to work with those women day to day. Do you have anything in place, or do you have any ideas on how we can go beyond, you know, what we might call our privileged bubble, because we're dealing with things that, or rather, those women are dealing with things that we may never encounter ourselves. How do we extend that reach with a powerful company like Google, a company like Sanofi? Orange is also our sponsor today. Unfortunately, they couldn't have a speaker with us, but you know, these big brands, everybody knows them, even in the countryside. So that means you have I'll use the word gravitas again, to speak to these women or to these families and actually really get them to listen. So how do we as businesses go out there and get them to at least start the conversation? Thank
you. I would say that we do. That's that's what we need to do as a reply to your question. We have to do. If you allow me, I believe we need to stop talking and doing. And to continue the example of the things we've done, last year, we were forced by the pandemic to get outside of the bubble and meet the girls in tech in a different format. And we invited them in a series online. We invited girls from rural and small towns, and we did 2 sessions with the girls. They were meeting inspirational other girls who are working in IT&C, not just coders, but also from other types of jobs. And then what we did, and this is one example, it could be multiplied and scaled to the entire country. We had 2 evening series for the mothers of these girls. We brought a therapist. Actually, I know she's watching us, so thank you, Irina, for being with us last year. We talked about how difficult it is to manage in a world where everything is changing and the jobs are changing, and you as a mother need not just to provide for your family, but also make sure that your kids learn and continue having their independence financially. We brought a specialist in job finding, and we explained to these mothers of teenagers how they can readjust to the new job environment and prepare for jobs where technology is needed. We even had a session on digital skills, basic digital skills for these women. And we encourage them to look for jobs and to apply, because we also know from statistics that men need just 20-something% from the job description matching to apply for a job. Women try to be even up to 90% matching their CV with the job description in order to have the courage to apply. So what we did was to support them in being confident that even in this world where technology is the new revolution, they could make it, and they could be the one holding the stick of power. So that's one example that I can think of, but I'm sure that the true answer is doing. Anything but doing.
Well, there's a question from the audience, and I think it was for Roxana, but I think we can extend it to everybody. Andrea Ungureanu is saying, what was the employees' reaction to the initiative that uncovers their implicit bias? Do you plan on measuring the impact of this program at the level of all employees? It's a very interesting question, because when you put a mirror in front of someone, you know, we're so set in our ways sometimes that people can get quite defensive, and they can perhaps reject the finding of such a program. So Roxana, what was the reaction?
Thank you very much. In fact, I was just typing the answers. Thank you very much for helping me. As I already said, yeah, at the beginning, they were, okay, let's say, passive positive. Okay, it's very nice to have it. What kind of biases? No, we don't have biases. Going through the program, they discovered, they realized, in fact, how many subtle, unthought biases, in fact, all of us have. And they appreciated very much the program, especially for raising the awareness. They define it even like a wake-up call, and helped us very much in really and concretely having our colleagues embarked, yeah, in this initiative from many perspectives. And here maybe I wanted also to complete and to intervene a bit on what was said previously. I'm not at all so pessimistic, yeah, as it has been shared, but rather a realistic optimist. I'm also in business since 30 years. And I have also have a summer cottage at the village, at the countryside. And I may say that a lot of progress is in fact has been done and could be observed. And also I sincerely and genuinely believe that people do have empathy, and they are caring of other around us. They need to be helped. They need to be supported. They need to be offered the time and the means to help each other. But generally and primarily speaking, there is a lot of good in each of us, and I can give you lots of examples. I remember a situation in our company where one of our colleagues, it was a colleague in, let's say, entry-level position, close to retirement, and she was really desperate because her young daughter, learning for the admission exam at the university, has broken her glasses. From the noon till the end of the day, the colleagues around put some money together and offered to our colleagues, and she was buying the glasses before returning at home, without any, how to say, any communication, any support, any encouragement for each and everybody. And also, I don't think that really, in order to make a difference, it's such a big, we should not split so easily and so often small companies, mid-sized companies, and big companies. Being part of the big company doesn't matter at all, that you have a large pot of money just to spread it to whomever needs and whenever needs. It's not at all the case, but we can do things. And I am striving and repeating that education, it's first and it's a must. And we can do this, okay, in nice and large events like this, or seminars or trainings, but we can do this through individual chats, through small discussion, offering an advice and support and whatever. In terms of money, yeah.
Could it potentially be a solution that we get educated women to talk about their experiences? Because I think there's an idea that violence against women happens only to women from certain backgrounds, because again, there's a misconception that it's only physical, and even
it's a big misconception. And thank you for bringing this to me. This was another point I wanted to say. Yeah, I have the privilege to work in this extraordinary pharmaceutical industry. Yeah, mainly if we are not speaking about a factory or blue collars with a certain level of educated colleagues. It doesn't mean that they are not facing psychological, mental abuse. It is not one case I was facing during the so many years spent, fortunately, in the same industry, in the same company, of really smart, talented ladies giving up to their career because it was not exactly fitting, yeah, with their husband expectation or competition or whatever. This is a very severe and unfortunate and avoidable, I would say, abuse, psychological abuse. So doesn't matter the level at the end of education we are speaking about, there are lots of things to be done and to improve.
And is it a solution to get women who are more empowered, who have seen more things in the world, who are at a higher career level, to talk about this? Because it's such a taboo topic. There's so much stigma around it that unless we normalize the conversation about it, it will perhaps take much longer to see change. I think this question is for both Roxana and Ella, because you're both high-powered career women. Would you be comfortable talking about a topic like that to other women? You know, drawing from your personal experiences or the things you've seen.
Absolutely, and anytime, and I'll be happy to share also my own experience, yeah, of this kind of let's say psychological abuse from outside. Yeah, it doesn't matter if from people I don't know, yeah, on the street at the beginning of my career. When, as an example, I started in this company in 1991. And I cannot tell you what I was hearing whenever I stopped at the traffic lamp in my brand new Volkswagen Passat in May 91. Yeah. Really, how to say, terrible. And at that time I was much younger, because young I'm still, I was very young, I really young, a young lady, and I was terrified. So yes, I think speaking about it, it helps, and sharing helps a lot, because it helps people, women, realize that, oh my God, I'm not the only one. It's nothing wrong with me. Look around. There are some other examples. She or they were passing through similar situation, and this it's helping very much, and it's raising, I think, the self-esteem and the courage. It's, as I said, it's nothing wrong with me. It's not me to be punished. It's not me who made a mistake. Probably it's not me. I don't deserve it.
Well, I like to say that healing starts when people bear witness. However, this kind of topic has been seen as a private matter, as we said earlier, for such a long time that many women might find it's not appropriate to discuss it in the workplace. Same question for you, Ella. Would you be comfortable discussing things like that? And how do you encourage employees to come and speak about them? And who are who should they be disclosing to? HR is one option perhaps, but how do they start that conversation to ask for help? Sometimes it's quite difficult to walk into the office of the HR manager and say, I need help. Maybe you're not comfortable. Maybe you don't know them if it's a big company. So how do you encourage that conversation?
You see, this is a very difficult question and answer. I was listening to our colleague Diana, and I was thinking how difficult it is for her to work in seeing all the things. And I was struck, and I wonder, are you not all struck by the fact that the number of cases of women that called for help is 3,000? Yet we're talking about 11 million women in Romania, maybe? Would you imagine how many women around us need the encouragement, the empowerment, the systems to support them to stand up and call the authorities or anybody that can help them? I'm wondering how to help here. I was very private until last year about the things I've experienced in the 20 years of professional life, because I was always saying, why should I talk about this? I'm not relevant. It's nothing. I'm not a victim. I don't accept this, so I'm okay to manage. And yes, now I don't think like that anymore. Now I'm present at this conference, and I recorded myself in the Mind the Gap session talking about many such experiences that I've had, to tell young girls that even though this happens, it's not okay, and they have to stand up. And I'm also encouraging my colleagues to do the same. And we have many initiatives like the one I've mentioned. And this is our way of volunteering and stepping up and voicing out the fact that something's got to change. And yes, we are optimistic, and yes, we have all the energy in the world to push this, but fear not, this is very much just at the scratching point. And I want to share my experiences and give you examples, but I'm wondering if that will help the optimism. Because even very recently, I was asked, who's my husband? In many years ago, I was asked, who are my parents? In the stereotype that how could I have become who I am now? I was asked in a meeting in a boardroom with a big bank, because I was the only woman in the room, if I bring the coffees, although I was the next presenter. I could go on for a few long minutes about these things. And this is what I do. And my colleagues also do it. And it's not just about HR colleagues. It should not be an HR topic. I'm a CEO, but I'm responsible of the way we form the environment around us. There is a nice book called Mismatch written by Kat Holmes. And she talks about designing in a world of inclusivity, but it all starts with exclusion. So we should first look at what is excluded first and try to help that. And yeah, I'll stop here because otherwise I'll expand too much on the topic. But it is about taking stance.
No, I fully agree. And as I said at the beginning of this webinar, we are so used to it as women that sometimes it doesn't even register anymore. I wrote this article when we were launching the conference, the webinar, a few weeks ago, and I was talking about how I told a male friend, I gave him some examples of things that happened to me this year alone, and he was absolutely shocked, and he said he didn't even realize these things were happening, the way people talk to you, the things the assumptions they make about you, the unacceptable comment. For example, someone asked me when I told them what my job title was. He took a step back and he said, well, how much do you weigh? You know, all these things that are funny but actually not quite when you have to deal with it so many times. And these are small things. This is what we call microaggressions. It doesn't even scratch the surface, as you said, Ella, to the real problem that women are dealing with. But you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all aggression. It's happening everywhere, and you have to take a stance against something. We can't each of us fight everything, right? So it has to start somewhere. I think Leo had some more resources for us. I'm going to go back to him. Do you want to tell us, Leo?
Indeed, very shortly, there are some resources that company can do without any big financial involvement. We are talking about awareness campaign and campaign for people from the any kind of companies, industrial or no. For example, and please help me with the visual, that can be a campaign, the QR one, or I'll go to the end of it, yes, for example, this one, it's an awareness campaign, and usually it happens in the Christmas time, or the time where families are together or people are gathering together. For people who are alone or who are passing these very difficult times, they need support. This one is one of the examples, and the other one, the other resource, it's hotline that you can call. And if you are feeling alone, for example, in those moments, you can call this line and talk with somebody in order not to feel alone, especially when the Christmas. In Romania, it's very present, but we don't speak about this. But if we are seeing the American movies around Christmas, everybody is much more emotional. We have time, we have spare time, and we are thinking about our lives. It's the end of the year. Uh, we are trying to make a conclusion and see what are our accomplishments or not. I would really like to appreciate Roxana and Ella. What she said is amazingly powerful about asking you who is your husband, and why and how you reach that position. It's so real, and it's the first time. I'm 20 years in the HR business, and I'm speaker to lots of conferences in Romania and abroad. But it's the first time when I see and I feel this kind of reality and real people. And maybe this is the good part of pandemic, showing us real faces and the real people, and being more close to each other, even if the distance it's the one who is it. So those are the resources that I wanted to tell you about. Thank you, and congrats, Roxana. Congrats, everybody. Catalina, amazing speech about the woman, the Roma woman. Indeed, it's a big problem there. Also, Diana and everybody. And I'm very pleased to be here and to be part of this. And Lestat said we should be aware of this problem, and I will continue that we should be present in our companies for those people, to hear them, to listen them, to be there for them. Um, Even if it's on call, on Meet, on Teams or Zoom or something, or in the office, we should be present. And indeed, time is the best resources, or it's the most expensive resources that we have. But if somebody really needs 5 minutes, we should be present there.
Thank you, Leo. I think Catalina wanted to add something. So tell us, Catalina.
Yeah, thank you very much for everything. It was an interesting space for us to share our stories, an inclusive space, as I said. Day by day, I'm dealing with stereotypes, prejudice, and discrimination against women. But also as a Roma woman, I'm facing a lot of stereotypes and prejudice. So it's up to me to talk and to introduce on our agenda about the vulnerable women. They are coming for vulnerable groups. So I would like also to add to the Maria story, as Ella said to us before. Let's add to Maria her ethnicity, and also she's coming from a rural area, and also she's an uneducated woman. Because let's recognize here, we are talking about educated women, and I am an educated, and I think I'm a privileged Roma woman because I have the honor to know my rights, and I have the privilege to go to know where to go if I'm facing something, or if I'm facing discrimination or violence. But let's talk about those who are coming for vulnerable groups. Our measure and our projects must include these women, because only together, and the words that I really now in my head is together. Together as women, we can succeed. Only together. The word is together among us, because we are talking about educated women, but let's talk about uneducated women who cannot access, and those 70% who are not, who doesn't know that they have a support, they are our women. They are women too, and we can represent them. The main idea is what we can do for them, but with them. I think is the most important, with them, together with them, to overcome this kind of obstacle, and together with them to find the best solutions. I don't have the perfect solution for combating violence, but only together with the person who face this kind of violence, together we can find a solution. So from my point of view, I will continue with my trainings regarding gender and equality and equity when in educational system. I will do my best, because this is the role of my institution, but I will do also my best as a Roma woman activist fighting for Roma women rights also. So thank you very much. I will come to you for different projects. I will not forget what you have said right now. So I will come to you. So and I hope I will see you again, and with also the other women. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Catalina. I'd like to go once around the room with two questions. The first one is, in bullet points, 2-3 pieces of advice that you would give to our audience, small or big business owners, or entrepreneurs, or people who work in companies who want to see a difference tomorrow. It doesn't have to be big, it can be quite small, but I'd like to, if you could, give them 2-3 pieces of advice for them to take into their business and make a change tomorrow. And second, and this is a bit more of a painful question, if you will. If something happened to you or to someone you know, how would you react? How would you go about dealing with a situation, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's in your personal life? How would you manage a situation like that for the women that are in the audience or want to advise other women in terms of how to manage a truly difficult situation, from women who have lived through situations like that, for women who are in business and have seen so many things? I feel like if you could give us again a 3-point what to do answer, I think that would be quite powerful. Shall I start with Roxana?
Advice. So in one bullet, I would say and recommend be there, be present and care. If you meet this starting point, definitely you will make the difference.
And on the second question, dealing with a situation of violence, whether it's in the workplace or somewhere else, what would you advise women to do? Or victims rather, because again, as I said, it's not just women. It is usually a women's problem, but there are also men who have been victims of violence. How do you handle a situation like that? How would you?
Speaking out and asking for help. Definitely. Don't be ashamed. Don't be terrified. Don't blame yourself. Don't think at anything the other, I don't know, and when I say the other, that I speak big, the other may think. No, it's incorrect, it's abnormal, it shouldn't be. So speak out, make noise, and ask for support.
Thank you. Leo, I saw you agreeing with Roxana. Same question for you. Whether it happens to you or people close to you, what are the steps you would advise someone to take when dealing with a situation like that? And if, you know, from the business perspective, because we were talking about having policies in place, having a how-to manual, you know, how to deal with an extreme situation can also be part of a business approach to this topic. So in a few steps. And then, of course, the other question, 1 or 2 bullets, advice for companies on how to manage violence against women in the workplace.
So personal, well, being a coach is it's supporting other people, friends, relatives who are passing through this kind of period of times. So first of all, support. Roxana said already, be present, be there. So in terms of business, there should be some policies and there should be some workshops for team leaders of the blue collars people. If we are talking about those 70% with non-education, there are blue collars. So indeed, it's very important to make trainings, workshops with people where in the organization where these people are. Indeed, we are privileged. Indeed, we are in offices, in downtowns, in driving our own cars, so on and so forth. But for those people, let's put all together, and together was the key word of today, to do something, not just to say, to do, as Ella said, and make some programs and deliver it even for free in organizations in order to change a little bit the mindset.
Thank you, Leo. Diana, you said some very interesting things, and it was great to hear your about your experience, because you know, when you talk about what the police used to do and how perhaps they're acting today, it rang a bell. I heard it so many times. So you too have had experience in the trenches, in the front line.
Yeah.
Some questions for you.
Yes. Thank you very much for those questions, because they were important information that I wanted to add to my previous intervention. So from my point of view, it's very important to adapt the intervention that companies are doing to their resources, and they can do lots of things with small amount of resources. And I'm thinking here about bringing the information to the women that are working in their companies. The information, the helpline, for instance, you just can print the helpline and put it in the offices at work. But also there are other things that together we can do together, because for me it is very important to see this approach of being together, public sector and private sectors, because in Romania I listen to this discourse of underlining the gap between us, but we are together in fighting violence, in following the interests of the citizens of this country. So from back to the main my main idea regarding the resources, bringing the information to the victims. Also at ANES we are working on a standardized guide for gender equality plans in public and private institutions, and it's almost ready. But due to the unstable political context we deal with those days, we were not able to have it done, but we have this standardized guide for doing gender equality plans in public and private institutions, and we will be send it to you as soon as it's ready and legally confirmed by the bureaucracy we have to deal with. And in those gender equality plans, you have very clear steps that you can follow in companies in order to promote gender equality, because if we promote gender equality, we can fight also violence against women, that is a phenomenon based on inequalities between women, inequality of powers between women and men. So try to have gender equality plans in your companies, and also try to bring experts together. If you have bigger companies, you can have at the human resources department an expert, gender equality expert. There is in the Romanian register of occupations, there are two occupations, new occupation, gender equality, it's not gender, equal opportunities expert, and also equal opportunity technician. You can train your staff in order to be able to implement a gender sensitive approach in your business, and this will help also the women that are facing gender based violence. And also you should keep in touch with us with ANES, because we are trying to build strong support and social services for women that are facing violence. And if we are raising the calls and the women that are reporting those abuses and that are accessing the social services, we will have the best arguments in order to ask for more budget to build more and more social services for women that are victims of gender-based violence. Because now we have shelters, but in some places, due to the lack of information, the lack of trust, and so on, they are not fully addressed by the victims. So we can do this together, and for me this meeting was very, very meaningful, due to the fact that I saw so much solidarity and sisterhood. And thank you. And just call us or write us on the email if you have, I don't know, victims that are contact you and you don't know what to do. You can call, and together we'll find the best solution, because as Catalina said, it's very important to believe the victims and to give them the power to decide what is the best way for them to end this kind of abuse. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So much, Diana. I know that Roxana has to leave. Thank you so much for joining us. Before I go to our next speaker, I wanted to thank you for your participation. Thank you, Sanofi, for being a sponsor for this event. Your support is invaluable to us at the RDCC. I look forward to seeing you again soon, probably in our next webinar. Have a wonderful day, Roxana, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you very much, Andrea. It has been a real genuine pleasure to be together with you. Thank you for giving me and our company the opportunity. Looking forward for other new opportunities to meet. Count on me. It will be really my pleasure. Wishing you a very nice rest of the day.
Thank you, Roxana.
Goodbye.
I'm now going to go to Catalina with those same two questions. Catalina, you have a wealth of experience. Tell us, what would you advise businesses and what would you advise women in brief, just a few bullet points? What should they do?
If stereotypes and prejudice can be learned, also empathy, we can teach empathy. So let's do that together. Teach, I don't know, the people who are dealing with or who are fighting against violence with empathy, because I think the empathy is the most important value, shared value that we can have among us. So yeah, let's create programs, initiatives, all kind of activities for all women that, I don't know, coming from different backgrounds or having different backgrounds. This is my I don't know, recommendation, not advice, because I'm not good at advices.
And for women who are dealing with an extreme situation, what would you have?
Go to a person that can make you feel safe and share your story. And if that person doesn't know where to go with you, then find another person. I know your rights, file a complaint at CNCD or the other stuff. I think everyone knows that. Or if not, then file a complaint at the National Council for Combating Discrimination if you are feeling that you are discriminated or stereotypes, prejudice. Or I think it's very important to know your rights and know your rights using the internet. I always say, internet can be used to know your rights, to know where to go if something is happening with you. So
thank you, Catalina. Lestat, you weren't really part of this conversation, but I want to make you a part of the conversation because not only do you work with the RDCC with so many companies, but you have a daughter yourself. And I assume, you have thought about these things. Same questions for you. What would you advise companies? What would you advise women?
Well, I will somehow join what Ella said earlier. I think it's important to speak about it with the younger generation. I myself wrote an article which has been translated in Romanian following the scandal on Libertatea about that young
Actor
that posted intolerable comments on his Facebook page. But I think we, as a parent, we all have a duty and a duty to educate and inform our children. But I think the mothers, especially mothers, have a responsibility here to stop raising machos. I mean, we need to stop raising machos. That's how we're going to start to eradicate this plague, which is the domestic violence. We have to, especially your sons. I mean, I have twins. I also have a son with my partner, and our son is not raised into a macho house, but still he has those macho attitudes, and we need to remind him that the macho attitude is not welcome home. And I think that's the best root grace. We need to start here at home, to speak with those kids, to change our way of acting with them. Just when I'm hearing some other parents, boys don't cry. I mean, it's all the stereotypes also. We make them becoming like this. Not saying that all, children which are male are going to be beating up their women in the future. I'm saying that, we need to bring them awareness also at a really young age. But business, sorry, I think the chamber is a good way to start at any level. We offer task force. We do have a gender equality, a CEO task force on gender equality, which is with Sanofi and Orange. I care, and I'm sure that Ella will have a great input on this task force. The task force is based to provide mentorship to also big companies, but smaller companies, to try to see where they can start about gender equality. I think to push gender equality is also on the agenda to eradicate the violence against women. We also provide specific trainings and programs to implement policies. So as ANES is a good place to find solutions. Resources, as the CNCC, sorry, excuse me, is a great place to find help when you're discriminated against, but also plenty of other issues. The chamber is a great resource for companies that want to evolve their policies, but simply put them in place when they don't exist.
Well, we should. I will encourage all attendees, companies, or individuals to reach out to the RDCC for all issues regarding equality, diversity, and inclusion. The email address is contact@rdcc.ro. Sorry, contact@rdcc.ro. I think we have a slide on screen. Andrea, our colleague, her email is andrea@rdcc.ro. It's not me, it's another Andrea. She's great. Feel free to get in touch with her. I'm going to go to Ella now with the same two questions as the final speaker. You've had a little bit of time to hear everybody's answers as I went around the room. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these two questions, and after that we're going to get closer to the end of our webinar.
Yes, once again, thank you for organizing this and for having me with you. I listened carefully to what you said. One of my most important mottos is every interaction is the interaction. So to the question of what can companies do, my answer would be interact. I heard Lestat saying that moms should talk to their kids. And well, I need to thank him because he just opened my eyes, reminding me of what allyship means. The part of the solution is not the victim. The biggest part of the solution is the majority, or the privileged, those who are imposing the violence on women. So to that, I think it's actually the dads, the men, who should be brought into this conversation and who should learn to talk about not being violent and not being oppressive and not imposing one's will over the other. And the same to institutions, because I truly believe in everyone's right and potential to decide what they want to do with their bodies, with their souls, with their minds, with their careers. So be passionate about this topic and don't be afraid to be called feminist by those who don't understand other people's right. And to close on what I wanted to share, I would like to tell you what I do when women in my life, from various aspects of my life, are being victims of violence in any form it may take. First of all, I don't judge. It is very difficult to be in those shoes with all those emotions and with all those thoughts and with no solutions. So being considerate about that, I think it's very important. And the other one is just offer the unconditional support that you can offer. These people need help. They need resources and they need understanding. So be there and count. That would be my last thought. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ela. We have come to the end of our webinar. We've had some fantastic speakers and trailblazers with us today. I'll go through the room again, those who are still with us and those who have had to leave. Diana Elena Neaga from ANES, the National Agency for Gender Equality, Catalina Olteanu, board member of the National Council for Combating Discrimination, Elisabeta Moraru, country manager, Google Romania, Roxana Câlțea, HR head, Sanofi Romania and Moldova, Anca Mitu, general director and partner at Privileg Catering, Leonard Rizoiu, managing partner at Leo HR, and of course, Lestat Monroe from the Romanian Diversity Chamber of Commerce, which organized the event today. It was also proudly sponsored by Google Romania, Orange Romania, Fokker Engineering, Sanofi, and World Class. And on that, actually, all the participants will receive a 1-week pass to go to a gym of their choice in the World Class network. So be on the lookout for something over email. We've had an incredible wealth of supporters. There's a slide next to me naming all of them. It's we've never had such support for an event in our experience of organizing events so far. It's been incredible. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you to all the ambassadors and the embassies who have supported us. You will find a number of articles based on this webinar on the RDCC website, rdcc.ro. We have a glossy new website. Please feel free to have a look. And on our social media, get in touch with us for all equality, diversity, and inclusion topics. You will receive a number of newsletters highlighting the things that have been discussed in this webinar over the next few days. Until next time, thank you all for attending and stay safe.